Hello, 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 and good morning, and welcome to the Business Marketing and Getting the Sale show. We are here same time every week talking about different topics, and today's topic is, what does being committed to your business success look like? Before we dive into that, let's first do some quick introductions. Jess, if you want to go first.
Hi, good morning, everyone. For those of you that have not met me before, my name is Jess. I work with businesses that primarily probably feel like they're overwhelmed or confused, don't know which direction to take the marketing in next. And a lot of the time, we need to just step back and review where you're at and them avenues that you can go down. So I do that through my 6-step brand loyalty process. Step 1 being the review. So if you're interested in finding more about that, drop me a message and I'll send you a quick video that explains each step and the impacts that they have.
Fabulous. Thank you, Jess. Over to you, Stephen.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephen Lerman from Chameleon BDS. If you are having problems making those outbound calls, or don't like to, don't want to, or don't have the resources to do so internally, then just give me a call. I can make those appointments for you and get in front of those people you need to talk to. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stephen. And if you haven't met me before, my name is Una Doyle. My business is Creative Flow, and I can help any established business owner to find at least an extra 50K in only 50 minutes. If you want to know how, comment below or DM me. I'll be happy to share with you a video. And on that page, you can book a free consult with me as well if you choose to. Okay, so let's dive into today's topic. This was prompted because I came across this quote recently and it really struck a chord with me for a few different reasons. So the quote is, and it's in the description, by the way, but the quote is, when you're interested, you do what's convenient. When you're committed, you do whatever it takes. And that's by John Assaraf. So I'm just curious, like, what were your initial thoughts when you saw this, Jess?
So for me, when I first saw it, I saw them as two different things, which, they obviously are, but I saw it as having both. I think you can't be committed without being interested. Using them both. So in my head, it's how can we implement both of them in what we're doing? How can we be committed but make sure what we're committing to is interesting us and how we work as well? So personas jumped in my mind to, okay, what natural strengths do I have? How can I make the work that I have to do to grow my business interesting enough? Because I'm committed to my end goal, I'm committed to what I do, I'm committed to the value and the actual service of my job. But there's plenty of other things within my business that I have to do to keep the business afloat. So it's how I can keep them things interesting enough to keep by my commitment as well. That's where my head was at, if that makes sense.
Okay, interesting. Right, great. We'll come back to that. Stephen, what were your initial thoughts to this quote?
So let's take the second part of the quote first. When you're committed, you do whatever it takes. For me, that's the most poignant part of the quote, because when you are committed, you'll pull out all the stops to get the end result, to be successful, to move the business forward, and to take it to the next level. But when I read the first part, you do what's convenient. For me, that sounded like a bit of a cop-out, insofar as if I'm interested in something, I'm more committed to getting the job done. I don't see that as doing something that's convenient. If I was uninterested, I would do what's convenient. That's my spin on it. I think that is kind of like take it or leave it. It's to convenience, ease. So I like the second part of that quote first. That's for me is the most important part of that quote. I love that bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. I mean, I talk with a lot of business owners. I mean, over the years, I've kind of worked with and talked with hundreds, possibly even thousands of business owners. And, what I can tell you is that there are a lot of people who are not committed, and how do you know that? Like, I will often say to my clients or, a prospect or just a fellow business person, and we're having this kind of a conversation, And I'll often ask them, so, well, what percentage are you committed? And if they say 70, 80, 90%, then the answer is they're not actually committed. Commitment is one of those things. You either are or you aren't. It's so interesting. It's like if I go say, well, it's like the word try. Okay. So if I try and pick up my water, like I I can't I could if I try to pick it up, I can't actually pick it up. It's the same with being committed. Like, you either are or you aren't. It's kind of like being pregnant, right? You either are or you aren't. There's no half measures. And that's something I think people don't get about commitment. So when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm quite I'm fairly committed," like unless it's 100% commitment, there is some doubt. There is some self-sabotage going on. There is some lack of commitment for whatever reason. And that's one of the reasons why I really love this, because it's not about my take on it, and we all have our own take. That's absolutely fine. But my take is like if you're interested but not committed, not 100% committed, then you do what's convenient. And so I see this with business owners where that lack of commitment shows up, and sometimes they'll procrastinate by being busy. So they can fool themselves that they're committed, yet actually they're not focusing on the right things, or they're not, they're not taking the important actions like following up. And I'll put my I'll put my hand up. It's one of the hardest things for me as well. It does not come naturally to me. I've had to put in place systems, structures, reminders, accountability, to help me do that as well. And though I have to say it's a lot after, the personal development and the mindset shifts and putting these structures, it is a lot easier than it ever has been. Um, but it still doesn't come naturally. I have to be committed, and I have to kind of make a choice. Okay, so do I want to go and do this other thing, which might be a bit more fun, whether it's work related or personal, or am I going to actually stick with this and, have that stickability, have that follow through, and really demonstrate my commitment. So so on the one hand, that's kind of what I was feeling. On the other hand, I'm recovering from COVID. and and part of me felt like, yeah, but I can't really pull out all the stops right now, because I'm gradually working my way back to working full time. I don't have the hours that I normally would. Um and I my energy has improved a lot, but it also kind of was like a bit of, oh, well, you know, how do we do it? Just really made me ask the question, how do we be fully committed and kind of do what it takes without spilling into hustle and grind, and kind of, you know, working our fingers to the bone and being stressed about everything and things. I thought that was something really interesting to talk about as well.
I have a question for you then, Una.
Yeah.
Is it possible to compartmentalize your commitment depending on um, your health, your ability to do the work that you need to do for whatever reason that is? Like, for example, take you. So you've had COVID, right? So
Mm,
you're at maybe 60-70% of your output because of
yeah.
your recovering. You can still be 100% committed of that 60,
True.
70%. So you
Yeah.
can still be 100% committed, but you won't be at 100% of your work rate for a variety of reasons. So if you can
Yeah.
prorate your commitment, you can still have that total commitment, can't you?
Yes, that's very true. And it is, that's the thing. Like, there are times when we have to maybe adjust what something means, and perhaps just adjust our expectations, right? And so, that, I mean, and that's like a lifelong lesson for me, has been not expecting too much of myself. So, and that this plays a part in that for sure. So I think that's a great point. I think the other thing is that it was just really reminding myself about working smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up, and something similar as well, to think, well, you know, committed. I was watching Brené Brown had a new series, didn't she, recently? It was the book that she was doing it on was the Atlas of the Heart, I think, something like that. And basically, I've not read the book, but in this series, she was saying how language has changed, and how we use language is different to what they actually mean. So if we say something that we're not actually feeling, we're warping our experience to feeling what we don't want to feel. So as an example, if that doesn't make sense, there was one that really stood out to me, and it was jealous and envy. So when you associate them two words, she was saying that, what do you think of when you think of jealousy? What do you think of when you think of envy? And, it turned out, from the audience, I was saying that envy was worse than jealousy. But when she said the actual meaning of words, she was like, jealousy is worse. So if you're jealous of someone or something, you want to take it away from someone, you feel like they don't deserve it, so whether it's a person, whether your best friend has got another best friend now as well, and you've got to share the time, you want to have all that time to yourself. So that's jealousy. But envious is, you don't want to take that away from someone, but you want it as well. So if someone's gone on holiday, you're not jealous because you don't want to say, you don't deserve that holiday, I do, but you're envious because you're like, oh, that holiday looks amazing, that beach looks amazing, I really want to be there, I really want to do that myself. So that was just a quick example of it, and how we use language and what it means to us, and then how we warp our experiences based on what we're telling ourselves. So I think commitment is a word that I've not thought about before, but as we're speaking about it, it's one of them similar ways. So I wonder if it's in the book, because I've not read the book, but I wonder if the word commitment is in the book. And I wonder if it has some sort of definition and we use it in a different way within society, maybe. That
Maybe. And I do me a favor, look it up on the dictionary. While I just want to share something, and it is interesting, the different interpretation of words, because that interpretation of jealousy is not what I understand jealousy to be. And because the mindset work that I've done personally, but also I now have coaches doing the same work with my clients, and jealousy very much is about insecurity. So because it's like, so if you think of jealousy in a romantic relationship, for instance, I think that's one of the best ways to think about it, because or maybe someone, you might be jealous that a competitor got a client that you wanted, because the thing is that there's we'll come to you in a moment, Debbie. So yeah, if you're insecure, then you tend to believe that you don't have the ability to do that, or you don't have the ability to hold on to that person or to hold their interest without them going and being unfaithful with somebody else. And so I don't necessarily see that as being you want to take it away from somebody. I see it more as that person feels insecure. So when people have done the jealous mindset sessions, they feel more secure in themselves. And actually, that's the positive wording that's used in that session, is all about feeling secure. And that's how people feel after doing that session. So I think the nuances of the meanings of words are actually really important. Okay, so we got the interpretation: committed, pledged, or bound to a certain course or policy, dedicated. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really interesting, isn't it? That's pledged. I really like that, because it is that thing of you're putting a stake in the ground. You're claiming a particular outcome, particular vision, right? That's like what Debbie's saying here. Great quote. I think if you truly believe in the vision of your business, you do what it takes. So, you're doing that. You're claiming that vision of your business as yours. And so if you really have done that, then you will take the actions for that. Yeah, fascinating. I think one of the things I want to talk about working smarter, because I think there's a few things we could maybe talk about and share how we work smarter. And also, I want to go back to Jess's original thoughts on this quote about being interested, kind kind of versus being committed, and you seeing them as two different things, and wanting to make sure that if you're committed, you want to make sure that you're interested in what you're doing. So what do you see as the biggest barrier to that?
The barrier to being committed as well as interested.
Yeah.
I think so. I put when I was brainstorming some things to say yesterday, based on what we said, I've put that we need to be interested and committed. So if we're not utilizing our natural strengths, like I said, so my natural strengths, being quite extroverted, I like talking to people, speaking to people, voice notes, utilizing my time in a way where I can be more efficient. So I've really understood that about myself, to then make the work that I've got to do to get to my vision and to get to that committed goal enjoyable, more efficient, more fun, and, like you were saying, more time effective as well. Because if I can be, based on what you said as well, if I can be 100% committed and be more efficient, so I'm working less, doing less grind, but getting to my goal quicker, then that's kind of that's my brain's a bit kind of all over the place with this, because I'm kind of like readapting what I interpreted the words and the quotes for as well. But that's where my mind went initially, because then I even thought about, well, how my clients experience this, how our customers experience this. So if with my clients, we want to get the customers and having that drive and that emotional need to engage with the brand. That's the whole kind of ethos around brand loyalty. So if customers look past a product to a brand and see that they're interested in it, they're just like, oh, that seems quite good. I might look into it, I might not. Oh yeah, that's a good idea, but oh, Bob does it loads better, I might go with him instead. So we don't want people to be interested, we want people to be committed into saying, yeah, that's a great idea, that's a great service, that's a great product, that's what I want, and I don't want it with anyone else but you, because I love what you've seen. So then when I looked at it from that point of view as well, it was it's kind of different from different angles, and that's where my brain is kind of getting a bit I suppose, jumping from one thing.
Jumping it up in the air. That's why talking about this stuff is really great, because it helps us to clarify our thinking as well. And that's actually why I said let's talk about this, because I was going, oh, okay, this interesting. That's a really interesting point to look at it from the point of view of customer loyalty, because as you say, if they're merely interested, then it's kind of like, okay, that's it. And I think there's a lot of business owners who probably are getting that kind of reaction because their brand isn't on point, their offers aren't on point, they haven't put those foundations in place. And it's interesting actually, because that I actually believe that business owners not taking the time and investing their time and resources in building strong foundations for their business is actually a means of self-sabotage. And I did it when I first set up in business, where I very much, like, I know now what kind of has me in flow in terms of my strengths and weaknesses. And one of those strengths is that I can get into action really quickly, but when overdone, that's a weakness. So because then there's a tendency, like, that I used to have this tendency to rush into things. Now I don't. Now I will actually consider things. I will plan things. I will evaluate, is this actually a good idea? Is it a good idea? Is it a good idea? Yes, but maybe not a great idea for right now. So I think the kind of jumping ahead, and it was interesting, like, I've spoken to some people just this week who talked about how, they've been in business a few years, but they haven't got the success they wanted because they flip-flop. They do something, but they'd only do it for a couple of months. They didn't give it a chance to properly work before they went, oh, that's not working. And they go on to the next thing. And I think that definitely can be a challenge for creative people, because we have lots of ideas. But if you've rushed into something and you haven't considered, well, even looked at, well, how do I know if this is a success or not? If you're only looking at the end result, but what might be some of those indicators along the way that show, actually, this has legs, but it maybe just needs tweaking a bit. So I think for me, a lot of this is around the mindset part of people unknowingly sabotaging themselves by either kind of flip-flopping or just doing busy work that makes them feel productive, but that actually is avoiding the potentially harder things where they may face rejection, where they may have to put themselves out there in some respect or another, and they want to avoid that. They want to avoid, the self-doubt. They want to avoid the what will others think of me. They even want to avoid the potential success and how other people might be envious of their success or jealous, and the reactions that they may have from that. Like, the fear and the blocks are not just about the potential negatives. Sometimes they're about the potential positives. And it's really interesting. Like, I remember when I got rid of my fear of failure, and it was literally like, boop, fear of success popped up. So, so then I needed to work on that. And yeah, it's interesting. People really have to be committed. I spoke to somebody recently, actually, who in the call, they really want to do my group coaching. Yet, as we were talking, they actually found themselves saying something along the lines of, well, maybe I'm actually saying that I don't want help. And they were like, that's interesting. And I said, I just said to them, look, after this program, you cannot help but be transformed, both personally and in your business. You just need to decide, do you want that transformation or not? And, they have to choose, are they committed to that transformation? Because if they're not committed to that transformation, then this is not the right time for them, or I'm not the right person for them. And that's absolutely fine. But that commitment has to be there. And actually, that's something I really want from my clients. That's why I want ambitious business owners as clients. Because if they're not ambitious, if they don't want something bigger and better. Now, obviously, I'm coming from the point of view of they're doing it to make a bigger impact, right? So they make a bigger impact on their clients, they make a bigger impact personally and on their loved ones, and hopefully they ideally are making a bigger impact in the world through chosen causes and communities. But if they are kind of just, well, actually, I'm kind of just happy with the way things are, and I don't really want a lot of change. Well, that's not the right kind of person for me to work with, because they need to be prepared to do the work even when it's challenging. And I think that's the thing. It's like, it's not just convenient. Is that there's some aspect, and it's not necessarily a time thing. Sometimes it is that mindset part of it of, am I prepared to do what is uncomfortable? And perhaps even scary, depending on kind of what stage you're at and what it is that you're doing. Anyway, I've talked for quite a bit there.
Una, I wanted to say, building on what you've just said, commitment comes with challenges.
Yeah.
The two things, the thing that you mentioned earlier, I don't know if it was you, Jess, or you, talking about working smarter. You can be committed, but it doesn't mean say you're going to be successful. There's two things that you need. You need to be able to work smarter, and you need structure, because there's a lot of crazy things that happen on a daily basis in people's businesses, especially if you're a one or a two-man band. You need the structure. I know I need the structure, because I go down so many different rabbit holes, and I need the focus. So I can be committed, but I still think that you need the certain other elements that work alongside that commitment to help you be successful. So being interested, going back to that first part, I'm interested in my business, absolutely, but I'm so committed to getting it successful that I need the other things in place that I know I can't do on my own. So I look to people to help me with the structure and to help me work smarter. So it's a combination. Just to be committed, it isn't mutually exclusive on its own. You need other things to go with it. So I just wanted to, labor that point about the structure and the working smarter as well.
Exactly. So what would be like one or two ways that you think people can work smarter, Stephen?
Have a plan and stick to it. But if you don't, if you for whatever reason you cannot stick to it, don't throw your hands up in the air and say, "Oh, I failed." Move that plan to the next day, revisit it to make sure that you check off the things that you need to do. So for me, having a plan is absolutely key, is paramount.
Yeah, fantastic. Couldn't agree with you more with that one. As you know, I'm a big fan as someone who never used to plan, and didn't understand the power of structure. I mean, that's the thing is, I think a lot of business owners, like, part of why we go into businesses, we want more freedom. And it sounds like plans and structures are the opposite of freedom, yet actually they're what set you free. And when you really get that and you experience that in your business, that's so amazing. And I think, sometimes life happens, like, like when COVID first hit and lockdown happens, and that, I was just coming into doing the next round of 90-day plans with my clients. So from that point of view, it was good timing. And so we were able to adjust. Some clients needed to pivot. Some clients weren't affected too badly. Others needed to kind of do a lot to be able to kind of salvage their businesses. And even like with me with COVID right now, like, it's a question of rejigging the plan that I had, because I can't personally achieve the stuff, because I just, I've lost quite a bit of time. um but there are other things that I can do. So some things that I might change dates, or I might decide, actually, do you know what, I'm going to outsource that. Or maybe, I have some team members, so maybe I'm going to give them a bit more responsibility. So, how can I work smarter to achieve the same goals, or at least similar goals, in this time period. So I think the not throwing the baby out with the bathwater when things go wrong, because, as you say, commitments do come with challenges. That's really true. When we make a plan, it doesn't tend to go smoothly. You only have to look at a pilot flying a plane. And actually, this is what autopilot does now, is that, when they're going on a particular destination, then the wind might change, or they have to change altitude because of clouds or whatever it might be. They're constantly course correcting. And that's actually what we need to be doing, is constantly course correcting, to make sure that we're on the right track for what we have committed to. So one thing I would like to say in terms of working smarter, in addition to plans, so yes, you got your 90-day plan, which I'm a big fan of, which should then be able to break down into weekly plans, and from there you would do your daily plans. But I would also like to say, I've talked about it before, but the platform called FocusMate, I think that's a great tool for working smarter, because when you have that kind of in the moment accountability, it's a video co-working platform that runs in 25-minute and 50-minute increments, and you're partnered with somebody. And there's just something really powerful about having somebody else there on video. At the beginning of the session, you say, in this session, I plan to do X, and you might have a little list, or there might be one thing that you're going to focus on. And there's just something there about doing that I think makes you way, way, way more productive. And it really struck me how productive that is when one day I did 6 sessions, 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, and I was wrecked. I was so tired at the end of it. And I was like, whoa, I've clearly worked way harder than I have on other days. And I think it just stops a lot of that time leakage. So yeah, I thought that was really important. Jess, let's come to you. What would be one way of working smarter that you'd like to recommend to people?
I think something that kind of ties in with all of it, that is really standing out to me as well, it's checking in with yourself. Because like you were saying with, the pilot pivoting, but really checking in, because like we were saying, being committed, it's not all about, the hustle, the getting to the grind, all just leads. So making sure with ourselves. So if we've got a plan that's kept us, that we're committed to doing this plan, and we're churning out these activities, activities, but then say, I don't know, months later, or something happens and they're not working again, but we're still going, but I'm committed, why is it not working? So keep checking back in with who we are, what's going on, and even we were saying with subconscious and conscious, what's going on in our own autopilot that's preventing us, and not, even though committed, as we've been speaking about it, committed is a very emotional, an emotional thing because you're emotionally invested. But when I think of committed, I think of, I don't think emotion. I think logic. I think straight, no messing, no, we
No
want to get the job
excuses.
done. What was that?
No excuses.
Yeah. So there's stuff going on, but yeah, for me it's just keep checking in, I think, and keep checking in with where we're at, emotionally, subconsciously, consciously, where the business is at, and what can we change, and even commitment towards that end goal as well. Keep checking in with that end goal. That's something that I even not lose sight of, because I'm always thinking of my goal, but I lose attention to the detail of my goal and where I'm going. So even for me, keep checking in with that as well. So yeah, as you can see, my mind is a bit with my field this morning, which is just what I needed today. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Debbie's just commented here. So listening to all your conversations about commitment, COVID, planning, working smarter, etc., makes me think we need to be resilient in business to be successful. Absolutely. Like there are always challenges along the way. And I think we just get better at dealing with those challenges. And I think sometimes people think, oh, when I get to this level, then I won't have any more problems. Well, no, you're still going to have challenges. They're just going to be a higher caliber of challenge. Like the challenge of, oh, what do I do with all my money? Right. So, and which might, for people who don't have a lot of money, then that might be like, wow, how could that be a challenge? But actually it is, because, you're then kind of going, okay, well, how much do I keep liquid? How much do I invest? Who do I trust to advise me on these things? So it's just different challenges. At that point, you probably have team members. So there's leadership things, employee things. There's always going to be challenges. But I think it's not just being able to cope with them. I think it's just being accepting of, well, yeah, that's life. And actually that's what part of what makes life interesting, and how we learn and grow and develop. And I think if we look at every challenge as an opportunity to learn and to grow our resilience, to be to just be better, to learn, then I think that can actually be really powerful too. So I'm just going to very quickly, because I know Jess is running off to a client thing, but just very quickly, I'd love to just kind of go, what's been most significant in our discussions here today? Jess, do you want to go first?
For me, it's language. I think how we use language, even to ourselves when we're speaking, in our heads, all this sort of thing, really checking in with language. And I don't know, the definition of things, and that's something that's really jumped out at me from this conversation today.
Great. Stephen, what about you?
The most significant thing for me is the way we've differentiated between being interested and being committed. I think that, and even if we are committed, what you said earlier about being ill, you can still be committed, even if you're not giving 100%, because you're giving 100% of that of your time at that time.
In that moment.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think for me, it's about expectations, and it's about reminding, kind of going, okay, well, I can work smarter. I can look at, plan. I can look at the kind of task management system and kind of go, well, actually, it's in that prioritization and choosing and looking at, well, what are the things that are, as I say, what's going to make the boat go faster, right? What's actually going to move things forward, and what can I leave to one side or just take a bit longer to do, that isn't going to have as much of an impact. And actually, this is something we ought to be doing as part of our planning and as part of our work anyway, because the chances are, if it's not going to help move our business forward, then why would we be even doing it? But I think in situations like this, it's kind of like, well, actually, these are all things that will help, but which ones are really the priority that need attention now and need my focus now? So yeah, fantastic. Well, I think it's been really interesting discussion. If you're watching on the replay, please do comment and let us know what you think. Please feel free to message any of us if you're interested in having a chat about this, or how we might be able to help you in your business. We will be back same time next week. And yeah, I think that's everything for now. So yeah, bye for now.
Bye-bye.